if you're lucky enough to be coming to the best school in Woodbridge Township next year, we look forward to seeing you. Some of you we've already had at our visits already. The Castellucci guy I recognize already. Welcome back, bud. I went to high school with his dad. It's all good. So you worked all year on some awesome projects. I remember when I was at the middle school level at Ford's Middle School, Miss Sweeney, I know, did awesome projects and awesome work with the students. So it's always awesome for you guys to get together and kind of share that with each other, because I think that's a really important piece to learning, right? Just to see what other people are doing, because that kind of pushes us forward. So enjoy the day. Welcome to JFK, and any questions will be around. Thank you. Mr. Pastorino or Ms. Freeland?
Thank you, Dr. Perry, for the use of your building and for greeting us this morning. And also, we are honored today to have our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Mr. Pastorino, here to speak with you. I know you don't need it, but it's for the camera.
I'll use the microphone because it's for the camera. Welcome. Now you see why I don't need the microphone. I do want to start off with just some very important thank yous, and I hope that you guys recognize being here today the behind the scenes of what it takes to end up coming to a program like this. First and foremost, obviously, thank you, Dr. Perry, for your hospitality. How many raise your hand if you're coming here you're coming to JFK High School next year? Every year this changes. That's the awesome part of this presentation. And arguably, the most important thank yous here with Mrs. Vreeland and her staff. We have all of our teachers. Let's get a big round of applause for your G&T teachers and Mrs. Vreeland. So we rotate this each year because one year it goes to Kennedy, one year it goes to Woodbridge High School, one year it goes to Columbia High School. It gives everyone a good perspective, and it also allows us to see every year we can't go to all three in the same time, so it's kind of a rotation, but it gives everybody an opportunity to see and present in what I would consider to be a very similar forum, right? This is the high school. And you get an opportunity to hear from some of the supervisors, you get an opportunity to hear from some of the programs, and you're gonna hear it again. You're gonna hear things about the National Honor Society, you're gonna hear things about some of the opportunities that exist here for you. Why? Why do we just keep repeating the same information to you? Why do we do that? Because we want to make sure that we can say, we told you so. No, that's not the case. Because we want to make sure that you understand, right? And we also want to make sure that you understand what you're doing here today. What it took for you to get here today. Hard work. A lot of the work that you've done here is outside of your regular classwork. That's what life is. That's what high school is. If you think just coming to school and doing your homework and only doing what the teacher told you to do when you're in class is going to prepare you for school, college, trades, careers, the military, whatever branch of service, whatever direction your life takes you, that's what it requires. If you don't understand, you have to do some extra. When you do understand, you have to do some extra, right? And that is what you have demonstrated in being a part of the G&T program, what you have demonstrated with this project, your convocation, what you have demonstrated with your ability to work with your peers, to work collaboratively with groups of students that are from all walks of life. That's everything you have to be able to do when you leave here. And the better you are at it, the more successful you will be. The sooner you learn how to ask questions, how to engage, how to participate in some of the processes that you might not be so familiar with, the more successful you will be. This is a first time for many of you. This might be the 100th time for many of our teachers. Use their experience. Ask the questions. Participate in the experience. If the one piece of advice I could give you today in terms of what you're about to do and the next steps, because you're in the spring, right? It feels good. We're not cold anymore. It feels wonderful, actually, to wake up in the morning and see the sun and not be frozen and not want to stay under the covers, right? Before you know it, you will be in one of these schools, sitting here, looking at Dr. Perry, who will be telling you about many of the things, I should say, that you're going to hear here. And it's a reminder. That's the advantage you have in coming to these presentations. Having heard it once, just like many of you, you're going to do this. Because you're listening, but you might not understand where we're going with this. And that's okay. But the more that you hear it, the more that you engage, the more likely that you will be successful with many of these activities. So I want to thank you for your hard work. It does not go unnoticed. And that's really the last part of why we're here today. This is a celebration of all that you did to get to this project. I always look forward to coming to this. There's some really great projects, much more creative than I could have been. So thank you for that. But I want to thank you for your hard work, your commitment to doing more than the average student, your commitment to yourself, and your commitment to your fellow peers. This is what this is all about. How many of you, by show of hands right now, how many of you want to go to college after high school? You're going to go ahead, thank you. You're going to sit in classrooms just like this. You're going to sit in rooms that are larger than this. You're going to sit in rooms that are smaller than this. But this concept of academia and why we're here really stems from being able to ask questions and being able to go beyond what we've gone before. That's progress. So I want to thank you guys all. Welcome you to JFK High School. It's great to be here. Thank you for having us here, Dr. Perry, and I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Vreeland.
Thank you, Mr. Pastorino, for taking the time to be here today and to welcome our students. So our theme for today, it's not, we told you so, we don't want to say that later, it's no regrets. We want you guys to be planning now, and that's why we say it again and again, because this year some things will sink in, and next year you'll say, oh, that's what they were talking about, right? Now that's relevant to my life. But we want to kind of plant the seeds in you as you're going into high school to think about what are some of the advanced classes I want to take. 4 years from now or 3 years from now seems like a long time, but it goes by so quickly. So we want you to be thinking about those things now, because we don't want you to get to, the end of your sophomore year and say, oh, I wanted to take that class my junior year. I didn't take the prerequisite, I don't have time. So I can't take that till I'm a senior, which means I won't have time for this other class. We don't want that to happen to you. So we want you to think ahead, what you're interested in, what kinds of classes you want to take, what you want to make of your high school, whether it's your academic classes, your sports, your activities, clubs you want to join. Think about that now so that going into high school, you set yourself up to participate and to have success in all of these areas. So that's what today is about. In addition to your own presentations from your schools, I know you've each selected one from each of your schools, I think 2 from Island because we have such big classes there. So we'll see those presentations that you selected from amongst your peers, as well as hopefully all your iMovies. Hopefully we'll have time for all of them. And we'll hear from some people, supervisors, teachers in the high schools, to remind you about those higher level classes and specific activities that you can be involved in that you should be thinking about as some of our top students, okay? You're right on time. Our technology is not cooperating, so I'm jumping ahead. But Mrs. Lesniak's going to talk to you about some of the advanced English classes and electives we have.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everybody. So I am in the English department, and we have a number of advanced level classes that you can take. Some are only open to you as juniors or seniors, but there is one that you can start with as sophomores. That is the capstone program. So capstone is broken up into 2 parts. You have AP Research and AP Seminar. You take one as a sophomore, take the next as a junior, and the capstone program is a designation that you would get on your graduation certificate. There is a lot involved in those two programs. I don't teach them. That is taught by Dr. Kenny. If you want more information about those, you can go onto her Google Classroom, not Google Classroom, sorry, her website, her Google site, and there's a lot of information on there. We also have what I teach, AP Lang, AP English Language and Composition. That is a writing class. It is open to you as juniors. It is strictly nonfiction writing. There's also AP Lit, which is open to you as seniors. That is a literature course. So you would be reading, analyzing literature, not all fiction. We also offer SUPA, which is Syracuse University Practices in Academic Writing. You can take that as a senior as well. That is another kind of a writing class. That is a dual enrollment class, meaning you will get college credit from Syracuse University as long as you pass the class. In addition to those high-level classes, I am also the advisor for the English Honor Society. So when you are juniors in spring of your junior year, after you've completed the fall semester, you can apply to be a member of the English Honor Society. It's just like National Honor Society. We do fundraising, we do events, we spread literacy. We like to go to the elementary schools. I don't know where you guys came from, but we frequently go to, we've gone to Port Reading, we've gone to MPT, so we go and we read to like the little kids. We do book drives, all things surrounding literacy and trying to keep reading up. Does anybody have any questions? Yes? I'm sorry? 11th grade. Good question. Anybody else? Yes. My favorite book is The Prophet. It's by a Lebanese author named Khalil Gibran. Good question. Anyone else? Yes. What do I like best about my job? This kind of stuff. Interacting with students. I teach AP Lang, so I get to do a lot of fun, interactive activities. I try, even though it's a writing class, and that sounds like it's just going to be you writing all the time, we do a lot of interactive things. Try to make it fun. We argue a lot. That's fun. Anybody else? Okay, well, I hope to see you all in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Lesniak. And we're going to let Mrs. Zeisel talk about world languages real quick, and then we'll go right into that. Mrs. Zeisel?
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Bienvenue. Bienvenue. Oui, c'est français, c'est français. What's that? Bienvenue. Oui, and that's, what did I do? Sign language. Huangying, Chinese. And finally, bienvenidos, Spanish. So my name is Mrs. Zeisel, and I am a little bit hoarse, but okay. I teach world language. I'm also the advisor of the French Honor Society. In turn, I speak 5 languages. So for me, language is like super important. We do language levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. To graduate, you need 1 year of a language. If you want to go to a 4-year college, it's a requisite of 2 years for language requirement of the same language. If you're interested in going to one of the Ivy League schools, they kind of like really look at you and they kind of want you to take 4 years of the same language. And again, we offer at the end, probably like your junior year, you can take what they have as a seal of biliteracy. And you can, it's something that just tells everyone that you are bilingual in a language. So for me, teaching is really my second career. I was an interpreter, so for me, language is super important. Not only does it let you communicate with people, but it also helps you travel. And in like my classes, and I've actually taught in the middle school. This is my 9th year here at Kennedy. And then I taught in the high school, all levels of both French and Spanish. I believe that I am the only one in the district that teaches both French and Spanish. And for me, like, in my classes, we start off, yes, we have to do all the language stuff. We have to do vocabulary, we have to do grammar, we have to do all that. But I also stretch it out and I take it into culture. And it's almost, when you learn a language, it's almost like you're going on a trip. You're traveling to this place, every place in the world, and you're learning about other people's cultures. So again, I think that language is like super important. Not only that, but like if you are going up as you go, later on in your life and you're going into like a career, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, wow, this one speaks 2 languages, and that's a benefit for that. Because you can help out where other people can. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened to my son. So my oldest son, he's a doctor. And when he was in medical school, he speaks French and Spanish like me. Right now, he also speaks Hindi, but he spoke French and Spanish. And when he was just a medical student, a lot of times the doctors would call him out of class just to help them decide what's wrong with a patient. Because if you're let's say you're in the emergency room and something's hurting you, you don't want them to wait to find an interpreter. So he realized that learning or knowing another language is like a super benefit. It creates it it says in French Honor Society, we say, l'homme qui sait 2 langues en vaut 2. The person that knows 2 languages or more than one is valued like 2 people, because technically you are 2 people. So anyway, I hope to see you guys at some point during your high school career. And again, the funnest part is being able to, as a senior, or when you take French 4, for example, become a member of the French Honor Society, and that's what we're doing now. We have a lot of big sales, we do a lot of activities, we go on a fancy restaurant trip where you actually go to a French restaurant where they only speak French. So it's a lot of fun. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? Oh. Requirements for French Honor Society: you have to be enrolled in French 4. You have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and your grades can be like up to a B. You have to have great character. You can't have any kind of bad things in your character. You have to be responsible, and that's basically what it is. Yeah. For me, I do. They fill out a form. You get teachers or guidance counselors recommendation. For me, I use 3. And then you get to talk about yourself in French, of course. And if you want to run for a position, like what makes you a good leader? What things are you going to bring to French Honor Society to make it more fun, to make it better? In French Honor Society, we do when we do fundraisers, certain things we keep, but certain things we also donate. We donate to different places and we help out in different ways. We do tutoring, for example. And just this year, I actually won a grant I applied for a grant from ACTFL, which is American Council of Teachers of Foreign Language. And I actually won it, and that's going to go into French Honor Society, and for different trips and different things that we do. Since we don't have a French 5 here, I am going to try to create almost like a culture club where everybody is. It's going to be based out of French Honor Society, but 1 month we'll do Italian, and 1 month we'll do Spanish, and we'll do all different types of cultures. And I think that'll be fun. I love language because to me, knowing another language is like traveling and opening a lot of different doors. So, that's what I do. No questions? Yeah. What's my favorite language is probably French. I'm Cuban, so my native language is Spanish, but I perfected it and learned it in school. And I know I have a lot of a little story, I have a lot of my Spanish kids who say, I know this. Well, you know what? You really don't. I was that student who sat and said, I know this, until I took my very first test that I didn't study, and I messed up all the accents. And then I learned real hard that even though I'm native speaker, I still don't know it. So you still have to learn it. Any more? Yeah. I just loved it. I loved it. I speak 5, and I just love it. It just became like, you have to look at it like, okay, I don't know. Some of you look, oh, I don't know this, I don't know this. But a lot of the words that you see are really very similar to English. And I just loved it. I found it so interesting. And I like to travel. I wanted to travel and see other places and know other people. And that's the best way to do it, is to be able to communicate with them. The hardest part about learning a language is putting yourself in a position of not thinking in that language. Because when you have, if you like open your mind up and you say, okay, I'm gonna do this, a lot of the words look like English. And then it's just easy. It's just, you have to like give it time, and you have to like put in the time. So I always tell my students, we don't have enough time in world language. So if you could just give me 5 minutes, even if we don't have homework, just give me 5 minutes and look over the day before's class, that'll always help you out. But just keep an open mind and saying, instead of saying, I don't understand this, I can't do this, you can do this. Because like I said, a lot of the words look like English. And as an interpreter, you don't know every word, but you know the words that come before it and the words that you do know. And then you know the words that look like English words, and then you kind of guess. And most of the time, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 times, you're right. And that's what I tell my students. I say, okay, you can do this. Let's read. What is it? What does this word look like? And it's usually like an English word. Anything else?
Where are you traveling next?
I am actually working in Italy over the summer. I worked in Italy last summer, and I'll be working in Italy again. I do have an international travel agent license, and I also have an international fundraiser, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And that I won the grant. Now I could put that on my resume. But
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you to Mrs. Zeisel, and hopefully some of you will think about taking some advanced courses in one of the languages. And travel is certainly a great inspiration for why you would do that, why you would learn. Now we have Dr. Atsby here. Dr. Atsby is our illustrious science supervisor for the school district and a bunch of other stuff. We're all in charge of multiple things. You probably don't need it, but it's for the recording.
Hello, recording. This is for you. So Dr. Atsby, Science, Health, Phys Ed. To answer some of those questions for your athletic physicals, I would get them as soon as you can, right? Because it's always hard to get appointments. If you go to your doctor every year, maybe around your birthday or something like that, I did that when I was a kid. It's always a good idea. Just bring that, get your physical done at the same time. Just get it done every year, right? It doesn't cost anything extra for them to, sign off on the paper if you're getting a checkup anyway. But once you get that, you can submit it to the school. Each athletic director is going to have specific day that it has to be in by. But just get it in. It's good for a full year. Okay, so if you're not sure about playing a sport, or you're thinking about it, or you just want to make sure you're in the pool just in case, it's always good to have that stuff in. You're all 8th graders, so you don't get the free one anymore, sorry. We have it for middle school sports, it's free, but for high school you got to pay to get your physical. But if you're already going to the doctor, then you're solid anyway. All right, so what are we here for? We're here for science. Anyone here like science? Ooh, I got a couple. Anyone here not like science? No, it's all right. Be honest, okay? So it's okay. You don't have to like science. You don't have to enjoy it, but doesn't mean you're going to not take it because you have to anyway. Ha, ha, ha. So this year we made a change. Well, last year we started making the change. This year, when you're going in, it'll finally be a full rollout. So all of you, when you go in as freshmen, are going to be taking biology. That's going to be our freshman class. Everyone's going to take it. And what that does is it opens up doors to the rest of the science catalog for us. So in the past, you would have to take environmental science to start, and then you take biology as a sophomore, and then you have your junior and senior year to kind of choose where you want to go. Now you're going to start as biology, you're going to take that, and then going on from there, you're going to have a choice. You can go into environmental science, you can go into chemistry, you want to jump right into physics. As long as your math is on point, you can jump right into physics, which previously most students only took physics as their senior year, if they could take that. Then they can jump into your AP courses, which we have AP Chemistry, we have AP Biology, we have AP Environmental Science, and we have, did I say AP Biology? Did I say that right? Physics, did I say physics? AP Physics, all right, so those are the four that we have. On top of those, we have engineering courses at each of the high schools. I would highly recommend those. So when it comes to science, you have like your core classes, which is your biology, your chemistry, your physics, like your main ones, right? There's environmental science, there's forensics, which is an elective, but then you have like the really fun ones, right? So forensics fun. We have robotics, which is an awesome course. So you build little robots and have them do things, learn about some programming. So if you're interested in that, that falls under science. You have anatomy and physiology if you're looking to go into the sciences after, or if you're going into healthcare. Anatomy is always a great class to take, depending on which high school you're going to go to. You might have the opportunity to take anatomy and physiology C-level course where you can get college credits. So at each of our high schools, we have, depending on the teacher certifications and their own credentials, we're able to offer dual enrollment courses where you take you take the course with us, you take it in our school and with our teachers, but you can get college credits for either Middlesex College, or Syracuse University, depending on which high school you go to. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to go to those colleges, so that doesn't mean you're going to go to Middlesex College, but having a college transcript saying that, hey, I have this course done from Middlesex, you can then take that and transfer it wherever you're going to go. Right? Any New Jersey school is going to take it, and outside of New Jersey, most of them will still take that as a transfer coming in, as opposed to AP courses, whereas AP, yes, you take it with us, you do, you take the course, you pass the course, it's all lovely, then you have to take an exam at the end. That course, right, is then going to have to be accepted by the college, okay? Both on the same level, those AP classes and those C-level classes, but they do, they're handled a little bit differently in the colleges. The one course in science that I definitely want to bring up to you, because this applies directly to incoming freshmen, is science research. Has anyone heard of science research before? All right, we got some hands. Anyone going to be presenting at the Woodbridge SETS this year? SETS, we got one, two, three, four. A couple, maybe you did some research, made a little poster, or you're making a poster, and you go to your talk, right? So you're going to see me again there. Okay, so that's the Woodbridge Science, Engineering, Technology Symposium, okay, SETS, SETS. So students find some area that they're interested in, they do some kind of research, and then you're going to present. It's a really, really good opportunity. Even if you're not into the sciences, I would recommend taking this course, Science Research. It's a freshman level course, so you start out as a freshman. If it's something you're interested in, you can continue on, right? We do have a level 2, 3, and 4, so you can take it at all throughout high school. And essentially you find something you're interested in, and then you study it. It's very similar to an independent study. We don't really have too many other courses like it, except AP Research, right? Or is it seminar? Are they the same thing? Or one and then the other, right? Yeah, so those are very similar as well, but it's very self-driven. You do your own research, you present at different symposiums, you present at different science fairs. We just had the Terra North Jersey Science Fair TNJS, something like that, at Kean University a couple weeks ago, where we had students from Woodbridge High School and from Colonia High School, and they're winning awards. Some of them are winning money. It's a pretty good time. So I would definitely recommend that for any incoming freshmen that might be interested in the sciences or kind of leading your own way. If you have an idea that you want to look at, something you want to study, that's really a great opportunity. And those are pretty much all the courses that we have so far. We're always building out, always looking for new ideas. If there is something that you're interested in, maybe you want to take as a junior or senior, but that course doesn't exist, talk to your teachers. And we can always try to bring it in. And by the time you'll be juniors and seniors, it'll be in place. So we're always looking to expand the catalog. Questions? What's up?
So engineering
For the recording.
engineering is 3 courses, right? 1, 2, 3.
Correct. So engineering, the way we have it, you're right, I should have explained that. So engineering is 3 courses, right? And those also work with dual enrollment with Middlesex College. Now, that one is a little bit different from any of the other dual enrollments that we have, right? So in order to get the first set of credits from Middlesex, you have to take the first and second year. Okay, so those 2 together will give you the first set of credits, and then if you take the second and the third, ideally you're doing these in order, right? But if you're taking the second and the third, then you get the second set of credits, because it is a lot more advanced level stuff that they're doing. And so our agreement with Middlesex was we couldn't fit their entire course into just 1 year, so we spread it out over a number of years. But that's an awesome course if you're looking at 3D modeling or the design process, how you want to create things. That's a great course to have. Any other questions? Anyone have a joke? Tough crowd. God. No? No joke? No joke?
Angel has a joke. Angel loves making jokes.
Angel? Who's Angel? You don't got a good joke? You got a bad joke? All right, fine.
He has a good joke.
You can't volunteer other people. It has to be yourself. Thank you, Dr. Atsby. Great information on our science courses, and I know many of you will be interested in those. So, any of the people that you hear speaking today, if you forget who said something, but oh, there was information about science or about math or something like that, and you forget who you're supposed to ask about that, which supervisor, or maybe you hear from somebody here at JFK, but you're going to Woodbridge High, so you want to know who's the department chair over at Woodbridge High. You or your parents can speak to me directly, and I'll connect you with the right people, okay? So if you hear something, you're like, I heard something about science research, I don't know who to talk to about that. You can call the G&T office, and I'll get you connected with the right person. So now, G&T in the high schools, we have Ms. Maura McKeever to speak to you briefly about G&T in the high schools. Thank you, Ms. McKeever.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hope your presentations are going well today. So G&T at high school is an elective course that's available to you all 4 years. So it's not required, but it's something that you can choose. And the curriculum follows a similar format all 4 years, but the content is obviously different. So as a course, as an elective course, it's something that you take every day for a semester. So it's a little different than middle school where you're only meeting occasionally. So part of the curriculum is focused on different thematic units. So one of the themes is justice, one of the themes is freedom and responsibility, one is the natural world. And within those units, we read or we consume many different texts, right? So it might be we watch a movie, it might be we read a book, it might be we read philosophical documents or historical documents, it might be that we look at artwork, right? But everything we look at is focused on the theme of the unit. And then we do various activities. It might be a project, it might be a little bit of research, it might be something creative, it might be a written assignment. But all of those activities are focused, again, around the theme. The other major portion of the G&T curriculum in high school is the independent study, all right, and that's a bit of a continuation of the work you're doing right now with your convocation presentations. So again, you choose a topic that you're interested in. You generate your own research, your own data through surveys or interviews or observations or experiments, and then you formulate some type of thesis that you want to argue about your subject, and you do research. You find secondary sources, maybe other primary sources that you bring in. You compile all of that into a paper. So you're learning research skills, you're learning how to do annotated bibliographies, you're learning how to incorporate sources into your writing, all of which are important skills for college. All right, so that's the basics of the G&T curriculum in high school. Any questions? No? Okay. Yes?
The capstone falls under G&T.
That is actually separate from G&T. So if you're not a G&T student, you can still take the capstone. And the G&T curriculum is not connected to the College Board. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Question?
Is it like a class and you'll get like college credits for doing it?
So you get high school credits for doing it, but not college, no. Yeah. But you get important skills that you'll use in college.
Also an honors level elective, so it helps with your
rank,
GPA
yeah.
points. But the capstone, the AP seminar and the AP research, if you get certain scores on the AP exams, you can get college credit.
Correct. And the independent study that you do in G&T is similar to those courses, learning some of the same skills. I think I saw another hand. Was your question answered? No. No. Well, I mean, if you're already in, then you're in, yeah. If you're not in the program yet, then yes, you would test. Yes?
There's still like varieties of like art and
Those are outs, they're
No,
not,
there's
yeah, just middle school.
no arts G&T after 8th grade, because the high schools offer a lot of arts electives, so it would be redundant. So, and also advanced electives, so you have AP music classes, AP art classes that you can take.
Take creative writing.
Yeah. Lots of electives. Yeah. We leave everybody flagged for G&T, even if you don't take a G&T class each year, because it can be hard to fit things into your schedule. So you always have the opportunity to take it another year. The other thing to mention, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. McKeever. I really appreciate it. The other thing to keep in mind, yes, applause for Ms. McKeever. Every course in the program of studies throughout the district is available for you to request. Now, depending on who else requests that class, they may or may not run that class. So if only, 3 students request a class, it may not run that year. It might run the following year, okay? But don't let anybody tell you, oh, we don't offer that here. We do offer all the classes in the program of studies throughout the whole district. It's just a matter if they have enough people to run it, yeah.
How many students do we need in order to run it?
I mean, if you ask me, I'd run a class with 4 or 5 students, but that's not always the case because the principals have to negotiate with human resources for the number of teachers they have. They usually want at least 10.
Because I'm sure at Isle Middle School, there were at least 10 that would have signed up for it.
Request the class, and if anybody tells you we don't offer that class, you said, well, Mrs. Vreeland says we offer every class in the program of studies, and then you call me and tell me who told you that, and we'll address it. Because as a district, you heard from Mr. Pastorino earlier today, as a district, our philosophy is we offer every class in the program of studies to all 3 of our high schools, and we see what students want, and we base our schedules off of that. So that is the plan. If you hear any different, let me know. I'll get Mr. Pastorino involved, okay? And Ms. Kurowski? Oh, okay, great. So Miss George is here to talk to us about the seal of biliteracy, which was mentioned a little bit earlier, but we'll let you expand on that. Thank you. Miss George.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I am one of the co-coordinators of the Seal of Biliteracy. Who has heard about the Seal of Biliteracy? Raise your hand. Okay. Can you tell me what you know about the seal? Go ahead. Perfect, right? Anything else? So I heard the word college credits, like write in a language that it's not English, right? A different language, which reminds me, how many of you, and raise your hand, speak a different language at home? Right? So look at that. With the Seal of Biliteracy, and that's the idea that we are trying to let you know about, is that you can actually acknowledge, you can have that language that you speak at home recognized during or at the high school. So the Seal of Biliteracy, it's usually a test that you will take either in your junior or senior year. I know that you still have a while until you get there. However, it's very important for you to start early, right? The sooner the better. That's the philosophy of taking the Seal of Biliteracy. So the Seal of Biliteracy is this award that the state recognizes for the fact that you speak a language other than English, that you are able to understand, that you are able to write and speak that different language that you probably do at home. Usually, and like I said, you will take it either in your junior or senior year, but you will only receive the diploma and the designation of the seal in at the end of your senior year, okay? Now, you might be wondering why this is important to start now. It's exactly because of that. You need to start preparing, right? If you take languages in school, if you speak that language at home, that means that you are already on the way for you to become bilingual. What the state is going to do at the end of high school is to provide you with that certification that your bilingual skills are now recognized and are now acknowledged. Why this matters and what does this represent for you? It can give you many advantages if you are going to go to college. It will also give you advantages if you are going to be entering the workforce, right? Especially when we think about colleges, what we want is if they provide you with college credits. However, not every university in New Jersey provides college credit. At this moment, we only have 2 universities. We have Rowan University and William Patterson University that actually offer placement advantages. They can provide you college credits depending on the course and on the programs that you are taking, and also sometimes they also offer the possibility of fulfilling some language requirements that are needed for specific programs that you might have. Across the country, we have so many other universities. Obviously, it's always good when you apply to college, ask them if they acknowledge, if they accept the Seal of Biliteracy for you to present, because we don't know for sure, and if you don't ask, you'll never find out if they do, okay? What else did I told? Timeline. Like I said, it opens up for you in January of your junior year, and it goes all the way up until February of your senior year. So you do have time to take the seal. Here at JFK, we usually have you guys take it in the beginning of January, okay? If you are in your senior year, you will be receiving the certificate at the end of the school year, but if you are in your junior year, you're gonna have to wait until you see that transcript, until you see that certificate. And I think I said everything. Let me think. Any questions? No question? Yes. So it can be, you can take the Seal of Biliteracy in any language. And when I say any language, let me rephrase this, in many, many languages. We had a situation this year of the Konkani language, which unfortunately it's still not offered, but I'm hoping that in the future that will be. But most languages that we have, Punjabi, Gujarati, Telugu, French, Russian, Polish, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, name it, we have that opportunity for you. Tell me. Ooh, which one? I mean, I would say so, but we haven't had a case, but I'll look into that. Most likely we're gonna have it, but if it's really not common, we might not have it. I haven't heard about that language. I'll look into it, but until your junior or senior year, we might get it, okay? Because we're always like requesting new languages, and they're always giving us different languages, so hopefully we will have that for you. Which one? Kannada. Yes, we do have that. I remember seeing that one. We do have that language as well. Say it again. Double? Tamil. Yes, we do. Absolutely, we do have Tamil. Yes, it does. ASL also counts. We do have seal of biliteracy for ASL. For you to take, and that's why it's important for you guys to start early, for you to take ASL, for you to take a language, if you don't speak it at home, you need to have at least a level 3 of the language that you are going to be testing in. So for example, you're not a native of Spanish and you want to take the seal in Spanish, it's important that you start taking the world language class early so that when you get to either your junior year or senior year, you are at least at the level 3 of that language so you can meet the requirement to be eligible to take the seal.
Do you have to write in this test?
Yes. So because it's a language test, you are going to be required to do all 4 skills, right? You're gonna be asked to read, to listen, to write, and to speak it. The less common languages, like let's say Punjabi, let's say Gujarati, you have 2 of the tests that are going to be a lot about self-evaluation, how much can you understand and how much can you read in it, but then writing and speaking, you do have to take the test in the language to show that you understand. You can take as many tests as you want. It's a long test. It usually takes about 3 to 4 hours. It's in one day. So the more you take, the more tired you're gonna be, but I will never, if you start, let's say junior year, you pick one language. Senior year, you pick the other language. You can do it, okay? Any other?
What happened with the situation you mentioned earlier with the quality language because it's a sign native language?
Oh, so unfortunately, I did reach out to the DOE, Department of Education. They did not have any vendor that could test the student in the language since it was not offered. We did request for the language, but the student unfortunately did not take the seal in that language because there's nowhere and there's no one who could offer the language, okay? Yes? Because they don't know, right? So in my situation, it was the first time that I came across the language. I did try to talk to the student to find out, like, for example, how did you learn the language? It's basically from home that you learned the language. Did you go to school? Because if you went to school, that would be a great connection for us to have, because from there we could contact the Department of Education and they could establish the language for the seal. But because it is so rare that it was probably the first time that we came across it, unfortunately, we were not prepared to have the student take the test in the language. And we have a timeline that it's very specific. We did not have time to put all and everything together, okay? If you are interested in it, and when you join the high school, just let the person in charge know that's the language you speak, so that at least we have some time to get it. I did put in the request for the language, so hopefully in a few months, who knows, we'll have someone who can test that language, okay? Yes. In the back? Oh, that's important too. We're good? Yep, all right, thank you so much.
That was great information. Thank you. Great information, and I'm glad so many of you are interested. I think that last point was very important. If it's a more rare language that you're interested in, then as a freshman, talk to the supervisor of world language, which you can get in touch with through your world language teacher. Even if you're taking a Spanish or a French class and you're interested in taking the seal of biliteracy in another language, they can connect you with the right person to try in advance to get that language approved so that by the time you're a junior or a senior, hopefully you will be able to take the test. So good thing to know in advance. That's why we call it no regrets, so you know to prepare in advance for that. So I don't see any other presenters from the school right now, so we are going to call up our first selected presentation, Avenel Middle School Physics, Nathan Colbert and Christian Tolentino.
So today we're going to go through the first law of motion, the second law, and the third law, and the universal gravity equation, then finally Bernoulli's principle. So to start, we have Newton's laws of motion. Here we have the first law, which is known as inertia. It demonstrates that an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. So for example, you see the ball rolling. Since the ball rolling is the object staying in motion, the outside force stopping it is friction.
Okay, so the second law of Newton's laws of motion is F equals ma, which is the equation for calculating the amount of net force that is applied to an object. It is determined by multiplying the mass of the object impacting it by the acceleration of that object, and in turn it creates a net force.
So the third law of motion. The third law of motion states that that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So take Newton's cradle. You see how when you pick up one ball and drop it, one ball comes up on the other side. So that'd be the equal force picking up the ball and dropping it, and the opposite, meaning the one ball will come up on the other side. And it's cool because you can take 2 balls, 3 balls, and either side, it'll keep going.
So our next topic is the universal gravity equation. This equation calculates the amount of gravitational force between 2 objects of mass. The equation is shown as F sub g equals g, parentheses, mass 1 times mass 2, divided by the distance between the 2 objects squared. By doing this equation, you get the amount of gravitational force, again, applied by the 2 objects together. And every object does have a gravitational pull. As long as they have mass, they can be applied to the gravity equation. And larger objects with more mass will have stronger gravitational pulls. But the farther those 2 objects are, the weaker the pull between them is.
Finally, we have Bernoulli's principle. So Bernoulli's principle explains the relationship between airflow and flow and pressure. So the simplest way to put it is that as air or a fluid flows through a tube that goes from wider to narrow, as you can see here, wider to narrow, a suction force is created on the narrow side. So as you see, on the wide side, pressure increases, but on the narrow side, pressure drops. You can see this when looking at a demonstration using a ping pong ball and a funnel. If you keep the ping pong ball in the narrow side, and then you blow in through the narrow side, then the ball will stay in place instead of shooting out because the suction force occurs on the narrow side. And to finish, we have a few videos to show, each demonstrating different laws and what we covered.
Just stress sweating through my throat says.
Walmart.
A quick demo to demonstrate Newton's first law of motion. An object at rest stays at rest unless acted on by an unbalanced force. I'm going to remove the middle cup, which means that the ball is just going to be sitting here, and it will only be acted on by gravity, causing it to fall into it. By applying force only to this, I didn't act on this object or this object, so they should stay where they are.
What? No!
Wow. Do you wanna? The second law.
Stick of chapstick. We'll go ahead and use our force being our bungee cord here. We'll put it on our bungee and we'll pull it back. And you can see how fast it accelerates because there's very little mass. Put our spaceship on our launcher here, same spot. Notice it's flying a lot slower. The same amount on the force, and here we go. There you have it, Newton's second law of motion in action. Stick of chapstick. We'll go ahead and use our force being our bungee.
Why did you subscribe, please?
I wonder how many breaths it would take me to fill up this incredibly long plastic bag. Do you think there's any way I can fill this whole thing up with one breath? I bet you I can. Stay tuned to the end to see the real answer, but let me show you the standard way of filling this up. We'll take our breaths. One hardly did anything. There's 10. I'm not even halfway there and I'm ready to pass out. Is there perhaps a better way to do this? Let's see. Let me take all the air out of the balloon. And now we're going to use something called Bernoulli's principle. We're going to blow into the bag, but we're not going to put our mouth right on the bag. What happens there is as we blow in, surrounding air is pulled in as well to the low pressure area. This is Bernoulli's principle. Firefighters know about this. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay. So here we go. One big breath. Filled up the whole tube. So I said firefighters use this too. If you ever want to get the air out of your room, maybe it's hot at night and it's the summer and you don't have an air conditioner, so you're using a fan, don't put the fan right in the window. Back the fan up just a little bit and now it'll blow air out, but will also pull the surrounding air out with it. I love science. Have a great day.
Introducing the Sky Fan.
Okay. So those videos were there just to like strengthen your understanding of each of these principles so that it makes a little more sense, just in case we didn't explain it as clearly. But yeah, thank you.
And our next presentation will be from Colonia Middle School. If we can have our group come up on the Mongols. We have Ryan Stevenson, Parv Patel, Kyle Cow, and Raj Karawala.
The Mongol Empire by Kyle, Parv, Raj, and Ryan.
Genghis Khan was their leader. Genghis Khan was born in 1162 near Lake Baikal in Mongolia. He was one of the most famous conquerors who was the leader of the Mongols. Genghis Khan started off life with insignificant beginnings and was unable to afford a lot of stuff. When he became a ruler, he took control over the nomadic group of Mongolia and then started to attack other countries. His mother, when he was younger, was kidnapped by his father and was forced into the marriage. Raju next. Who's Rise?
The rise of the Mongol Empire. The Mongol Empire started out really small, and they eventually grew to be one of the largest continuous empires in history. The empire was the most dangerous, powerful, and feared at the time. The empire was formed by Genghis Khan, who was the emperor, and he ruled for about 21 years before his death. Genghis Khan went on to turn an army into a structured unit. At the start of the empire, Genghis Khan made laws. These laws forbade the sale of women, theft, hunting animals during the breeding season, and exempted the poor from taxes. Genghis Khan also formed the Silk Road. The Silk Road is a network of trade routes that connected the East and the West, trading not just goods like silk, spices, and metals, but also the spread of ideas, culture, and technology. Overall, Genghis Khan formed his empire to improve the lives of his people.
Thank you, Ryan. His war empire started.
Is it on?
Is it on? Sorry for the interruption. His war empire began when Genghis Khan sent 2 Mongols and a Shah to try to do peace deals with the Shah of Iran. But when the Shah sent them back, he just sent back the heads. This enraged Genghis Khan, so he sent 100,000 troops, which at the time was the most, to attack the Shah and take over Turkmenistan. And then when he was returning home, he sadly died, and his third son, Monkey Kong, took over. To avenge his father, he conquered all the way from Austria to the Middle East and everywhere in the middle. Now, some of the weapons that he decided to use was the mace, the sword, or wait, what? Oh, could you go back? Thank you. The mace, the sword, and a bunch of other weapons. The empire was so big that it spanned 9.3 million square miles, which is more than the US, India, and all of Europe combined.
Right, so even though the empire was so great, it began to fall in the mid-14th century. So there was this guy named Kublai Khan. He was born 1260 and is actually Genghis Khan's grandson also. When Kublai Khan died in 1294, the empire split into 4 different khanates. They split into the different khanates so it would be easier to govern, because no single leader controlled the entire large Mongol empire. So in the end, the empire fell because it was so large and nobody could govern the entire thing by themselves. And that's the end.
The Mongolian Empire will win.
Great job, guys. Ryan, Parv, Kyle, and Raj. Awesome job. We're next going to go to our Ford's Middle School presentation on Cleopatra by Yegamai Moragapan and Abiksha. Sorry, I can't, the light is Siva Nason.
So for our project, we chose Cleopatra. So first is her life. Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE, and she received a remarkable education, studying rhetorics, philosophy, mathematics, and she was also bilingual in many languages, including Egyptian. And back then, women learning a lot of things like this, and especially being bilingual, was very uncommon. She became the queen around 51 BCE, co-ruling with her brother Ptolemy the 13th in Alexandria, and she later fled to Egypt to escape from him. She had multiple relationships, which is a really known fact about her. They were both defeated by Octavian, and Cleopatra was overthrown. Her last words were, "I will not be at the triumph," since she was just overthrown.
Julius Caesar and Mark Antony are 2 of her well-known lovers. So in 48 BCE, she had a romantic and political relationship with Julius Caesar. With him, she had a son named Caesarion. Cleopatra used her ability to trick Caesar into helping her Egypt and letting her son take over. Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE forced her to return to Egypt, where she had her brother killed and made Caesarion the co-ruler. In 41 BCE, she had a romantic relationship with Mark Antony. She had 3 kids with him: Cleopatra, Selene II, Helios, Ptolemy Philadelphus. She had her other brother co-rule with her after Caesar died as her nominal husband, who she later killed. She co-ruled with her brother Ptolemy the 13th, but later had him removed.
So next is her death. This is a part of the topic that actually inspired us, since after all these years, after even centuries, we still haven't been able to find her tomb, and many archaeologists have tried to find it. So the closest archaeologist who's trying to find her tomb is Kathleen Martinez. She's been working on the case for over 20 years from her former job as a lawyer, and her theory is the closest because, contradicting the other archaeologists, she thinks Cleopatra's tomb is in the temple site of Taposiris Magna, and due to natural disasters, it's been flooded and everything over time, and that's why she thinks it's under everything, and that's why we can't find it. So it's likely submerged, and someone found her mummified hand in the 18th century. It's presumed to be Mr. Jordan, which was another archaeologist trying to find her tomb, and many people do believe she's buried with Mark Antony, which, as Abiksha mentioned earlier, is one of her known lovers. And we think that she committed suicide because after she was overthrown, she didn't want to be living with the fact that she was. So there are many theories of how she did suicide, but the most common ones are asp bite or snake poison.
So now, since we're talking about ancient Egypt, I may as well get started with the gods. So over here we have Ra, who's the god of the sun. Over there, we have Isis, who is the goddess of fertility and the protector of Cleopatra. Next to her, we have Amun, who's the goddess of air. Him and Ra combined to create the god Amun-Ra, who are the combined god of the sky. The god above Ra is Horus. He's the god of flight and protection. The god over there, who's like the cat, her name is Bastet, Bast for short, and she's the protector of Ra. Over there with the jackal head is Anubis, the god of the dead, and his boss, is Osiris over there, who's the god of the complete underworld. The Eye of Horus resembles protection, and a lot of Horus's followers wear it.
So lastly, since we're talking about Cleopatra, you might be like, why did we choose her out of all these people and after everything she did? We think she is quite significant to our future and our current lives. She was the last Egyptian pharaoh, which is really important. Though she wasn't the first female pharaoh, she did make a lot of changes to Egypt and helped save it in the end. Under her reign, Egypt was wealthy and prosperous. She was also a cultural icon in many arts, such as literature, dance, music, or even drawing. She broke many gender barriers in her time, like how I mentioned earlier of her being bilingual, or the stuff she did while she was pharaoh. And she actively influenced a lot of Rome's politics through her relationships with Mark Antony and Julius Caesar. Can you go back?
Thank you, ladies. Great job. That was awesome. Let's have Island Middle School on the topic of beauty. We have Errol D'Souza, Ramesha Hussein, and Zoe Awua M. Ponsa.
Hello? Okay, so my name is Errol D'Souza. My name is Ramisha Hussein.
And my name is Zoe Amponsa.
And for Symposium today, we're going to talk about the horrors of beauty standards. Look at yourself for a moment, how you're dressed up, either something stylish or something more comfortable. But ask yourself, do you dress up the way you do for yourself or for you to fit into the beauty standards?
1 in 3 teens already say that body images affect their daily lives, from sports to classroom presentations.
About 90% of teenage girls feel pressure from the media and beauty standards to look a certain way.
And about 81% of 10-year-olds already worry about their body image and being fat.
But it's not just kids our age that are affected by beauty standards. It's people from all different cultural backgrounds and all different ages. However, beauty standards aren't the same for everyone, especially when it comes to gender.
Okay, so as you can see here on the women's side, can you please go to the next slide? Okay.
Wait, no, the
because I'm describing the picture. Okay. As you can see here, on the women's side, the clean makeup look, or just makeup in general, is evident in a lot of these pictures. They also all look youthful, which just shows the pressure on women to look youthful and fit these ideals. On the men's side, they all have good physiques or just look strong. You may also notice that most of the men have small smiles or no smiles at all. This realization reveals the pressure on most of them to look tough. Okay.
Okay, so, wait, can you go to the previous slide? Again. Okay, so we meant to show you the definition of beauty standards. So, beauty standards are socially or culturally defined ideals of appearance and behavior that people are encouraged to aspire to. Beauty standards can change from country to country, person to person, meaning that the definition of beauty will depend on where you are in the world and what time period you're from.
Now we'll move on to the mental effects.
Beauty standards will always have their downsides. They can affect you physically and mentally. Some of the mental effects can include low self-esteem, body dissatisfaction, depression, body dysmorphia, which is seeing a false version of yourself, eating disorders such as bulimia, binge eating, and anorexia, and then obsessive self-comparison.
One of the most significant effects is the media. This includes edited images to show a more cleaner look. This affects others to be constantly pressured into being what's displayed as perfect. It also ties to people trying to be more popular by gaining more attention.
With these beauty standards come mental effects, meaning you need to learn how to cope. One way is to develop a support system, which is a group of family or friends that you can go to for advice, support, or help. Some other ways to cope can be body positivity content and practicing self-appearance, which is saying good things to yourself or about yourself instead of the negative aspects, or focusing on your skills or strengths.
So beauty standards are changing and ever evolving, so we prepared a few slides to show you the evolution of beauty standards throughout time.
Our timeline starts in the ancient Egyptian era, which is dated back to 3100 BCE. Their beauty standards including have a more youthful appearance. For women, long legs and slender forms were their ideal typical beauty standard. For men, it included being lean with a slight belly. Beauty standards weren't just tied to how you looked back then, but also your social status, meaning the higher your status, the more you would fit into the beauty standards. Women were also popular having kohl-lined eyes and styled wigs.
Over to the next slide is the Victorian era, which was the 1800s. It's a big jump forward in time from the ancient Egyptians. For women, it was all about having a tiny cinched waist, which was achieved through corsets. However, these corsets would tightly squish their organs together and make it difficult for them to breathe, often leading to women fainting. Updos were also a very popular sort of hairstyle. It represented their high class, and other things like big fluffy dresses and lead-based makeup were also popularized. However, the lead-based makeup would lead to lead poisoning, and it would slowly kill the women. And for men, it would be thick beards and mustaches, and their tall hats would also be a symbol of their social status.
Okay. Here we travel into the progressive era, which started in 1897 and ended in 1920. This era is when the modern look was more popularized, meaning more clean and slick looks. With this era came bobbed hair, similar to Marilyn Monroe's iconic hairstyle, and bold makeup in colors like red or orange. Since a lot of this era was heavily influenced by Monroe, florid dresses were also worn more often. Beauty standards for men were athletic builds, similar to today's standards, and styled mustaches.
Next up is the Y2K era. During this time, both genders focused on sun-kissed skin, along with going to tanning booths. But the beauty standards didn't stop there. One of the biggest norms was layered outfits, which defined the early 2000s look. They would also have chunky highlights against their dark hair. Similar to the ancient Egyptian era, they had bold eye makeup, including eyeliner and concealed lips.
Lastly, we have the contemporary era, which is the 2020s. So we're all living through this right now. As mentioned before, we have a heavy social media influence, and one of the key looks of our era is the effortlessly beautiful look, which is basically looking appealing, but making it seem like you didn't put any effort into it, hence the name effortlessly beautiful. Similar to the Y2K era is the sun-kissed skin, and to go along with the effortless look is smooth, clear complexion, meaning no facial scarring, acne, blackheads, or any other things like that. And finally, we have a defined jawline and an hourglass figure. Moving forward, we all know about beauty magazines, right? They tell you about the do's and don'ts of fashion and what's in and what's out. So me, Zoe, and Ramisha collaborated together and we made our very own magazine. We call it Rogue, definitely not a ripoff of Vogue. But anyway, we named it Rogue because beauty standards have gone absolutely rogue.
First off, we'll start with the lotus feet. The lotus feet dated back to the 10th century in China. The process started when a young girl would bound her feet into the shape of a moon, since her bones are still flexible at such a young age. Then, over time, after bounding, it would be into the shape of a new moon to fit in a small shoe in the size of a teacup. This exotic beauty standard caused so much pain, but it was attractive to men. The smaller your feet, the more appealing you looked. People who are still alive today that have suffered this process are now unable to walk, leading them to being in wheelchairs.
Next are the neck rings of the Cayenne women. They wore brass neck rings as a profound cultural tradition representing beauty, identity, and tribal heritage with roots in folklore, describing them as descendants of a dragon mother in Cayenne mythology. And the rings began in childhood and created an illusion of a longer neck by pushing down on the collarbones rather than lengthening the neck itself.
Lastly, we have nose plugs, which originates from the Bhani women of India. They're usually made of bamboo or wood, and women in the tribe from all ages usually start wearing them at a very young age. It originally started off as a way to ward off rival tribes from kidnapping the women, which is very common where they live. But over time, it eventually evolved into a sign of tribal beauty. So we come to the end of our presentation, but we're going to leave you all off with a question to ask yourselves. Are beauty standards necessary?
And as you leave today, consider how these expectations shape you, or the way we judge others. It's not beauty standards that are the problem.
It's whether or not we let them define us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, ladies. Great job. That really gives us a lot to think about. And we have another group from Island Middle School. Their title is Can You Believe It? We have Prisha Joshi, Sarah Nguyen, Dikshika Papasetti, and Bhumika Gowda. Come on up.
Okay, our presentation is about forensics. My name is Gabby. My name's Allie. My name's Mia. We're from WMS. Okay, the definition of forensics. Forensics uses science and technology to solve investigations and crimes and legal issues. Forensics means pertaining to the law. Forensics is scientific tests and techniques used for the detection of crime.
What do forensic scientists do? So forensic scientists use evidence to solve crimes, such as DNA, fingerprints, blood spatters, bugs, and more. And they also attend court meetings to present findings about cases.
The history. Early forensic ideas appeared in ancient China, Rome, and Greece. Around 1247, a Chinese judge wrote The Washing Away of Wrongs, which is one of the first forensic textbooks. Romans recognized that fingerprints could be used to identify people. The forensics emerged in the 1600s by becoming a formal field. That's where modern-day forensics science started. Core principles of forensic science. First, we have Locard's exchange principle, or the law of exchange. This is when a person comes in contact with another person, place, or object, they either leave evidence or take away evidence. Principle of individuality is nothing is exactly identical. Forensics can find the difference between things that seem the same, such as fingerprints. And the principle of comparison is only similar things can be compared, like fingerprints to fingerprints.
Jobs in forensics. So there's a lot of jobs in forensics, but here are some of them. There's forensics anthropologists, forensics biologists and DNA analysis, forensics death investigators, forensics evidence coordinators, firearm and tool mark examiners, fingerprint examiners, and evidence coordinators.
Okay, there's a lot of aspects of forensic science, so we're each going to tell you a couple of them. First one is DNA analysis. Forensic scientists use DNA, such as blood, hair, saliva, to solve crimes and figure out who did it. Trace evidence is anything very, very small that can be used to detect who did a crime, such as hair, like chips of paint, nails, like eyelashes. And then fire and explosion debris. Using debris from fire and explosions can determine what started a fire and if an explosion was intentional or not.
Ballistics. Forensic scientists use bullets, gun shells, and firearms, and seeing who bought them to help solve crimes involving firearms and guns. And blood spatters. Depending on how much blood there is, what kind of blood spatter it is, and where it is, they can determine, and what it looks like, they can determine how hard someone was hit, how bad it was, how long ago it happened, and how they were hit. And then there's forensics anthropology, which is identifying intensely decomposed skeletal or any unidentified human remains. And forensics archaeology is using archaeological techniques to determine the location, recovery, and documentation of evidence.
Okay, cold cases are any murder cases that haven't been solved in the last 72 hours, which is why they're considered cold, because they're more likely not to be solved, or less easy to solve. And then impression evidence are using tire marks, footprints, shoe prints, scratches, or holes in soft surfaces to determine things that were in the crime scene and maybe even who did it. One type of impression evidence is fingerprint analysis, and it uses fingerprints to see who touched weapons, people, or other items or things, which can help solve crimes, which everybody nobody has the same fingerprint, so it's easier to try to find fingerprints to see who committed the crime.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the suitcase murderer.
Okay, the suitcase murderer refers to Melanie McGuire, who murdered and dismembered her husband, William McGuire. This actually happened here in Woodbridge, in Fords. They had 2 sons, and they lived together. On April 28th, 2004, Melanie murdered her husband by drugging him and shooting him through a pillow. She then dismembered his body and put him into 3 suitcases and dumped him into the Chesapeake Bay, which was 3 hours away from their house.
Okay, motive. Why did Melanie McGuire murder her husband? So Melanie McGuire was said to have murdered her husband because she was having an affair with her boss, Dr. Bradley Miller. She could have just divorced William, but she did not want to deal with shared custody problems, saying the children came first, so she resorted to murdering him.
How forensics used evidence to solve the crime. First was trash bags. In the suitcases, Melanie McGuire put trash bags, and they were the same ones they had in their house, so they assumed it could have been someone they lived with. And then ballistics, the gunshot wound he had was from a .38 caliber bullet, and there were gun shop records that said she had bought a gun of the same kind. And then next was trace evidence. On the tape in the suitcases, there was a nail polish chipping which belonged to her, and there were a piece of fabric from a pillow in his wound that was used to muffle sound. And her search history, she had searched a lot of searches like about poisons, guns, gun laws, and chemicals within the 2 weeks before the murder.
Okay, aftermath. Melanie McGuire was charged with murder and she is sentenced to life in prison. She is now held in the Edna Mon Correction Facility for Women in New Jersey. She can get out of prison on parole when she was 101 years old, and that's a picture of her. Thank you for listening.
Great job, ladies, and I love your crime scene investigation outfits. Very nice. And now we're going back to Island Middle School. Can you believe it? With Prisha, Sarah, Dikshika, and Bhumika.
My name is Bhumika. My name is Sarah. I'm Prisha. And I'm Dikshika. And the project that we will present to you today is called Can You Believe It?
It's about illegal experiments that have been done in the past.
We're going to start with Unit 731, which was conducted by the Japanese Imperial Army during World War II in 1936. It was located in China with a facility with 150 buildings in the district of Pingfang near the city of Harbin. It was operated under the official name of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of the Quasi Army. The purpose of this site was for biological and chemical warfare research and development. What happened inside? The experiments that were conducted were vivisection, pathogen inoculation, weapon testing, environmental extremes, and other atrocities. Vivisection was doing live surgery on subjects without any anesthesia, so the subjects would feel it happening. Putting pathogen into the bodies was putting diseases and seeing how the body would react to such diseases. Weapon testing was putting pathogen dispensing bombs and other sprays to see how the body would react. Environmental extremes were putting subjects into extreme environments such as frostbite or making them go through extreme starvation diets and also dehydration diets. They would also put them in high-pressure chambers. Other atrocities were doing forced pregnancies and putting sexually transmitted diseases into the babies and other diseases to see how the baby would be born. Also by putting pregnant women in contact with X-ray radiation. Who were involved? The victims were mostly Chinese, some were Korean, Mongolian, and a few American and British soldiers. The age group were all age groups, including infants to adults, and both men and women were tested on. These people were called marutas, which is logs in Japanese, and around 3,000 marutas died only in the Pingfang district.
Now we move on to the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. This experiment was conducted by the United States Public Health Service from 1932 to 1942, even though around 1945 there was the cure to syphilis, which was penicillin. It was invented and widespread. Yet it was not given to these experiments. What happened? So what they decided to do was they wanted to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis. They had 600 subjects, 399 were given syphilis, and 201 were control groups. These people joined this experiment because they were poor, uneducated sharecroppers in rural Alabama. They experienced 50% unemployment rates and decided to join due to the benefits they could experience, which includes free medical treatment that was offered, which otherwise they would not have access to. And this was considered a bad blood treatment because they would be getting x-rays and other medical procedures that they thought would be beneficial. They also had food, rides back and forth from the facility, and burial insurance. So the effects due to the untreated syphilis was that many of the men that aged from 25 and above died. They went blind, and they experienced severe mental health issues. Also, the wives and children of these men contacted syphilis, killing more than just the 600 men that were in the experiment. In the end, United States Public Health Service member Peter Buxton asked questions and leaked info to the press in 1972. President Clinton publicly apologized for this, which was mainly considered a political stunt because their reputation was falling down.
Okay, the next experiment is the thalidomide experiment. So thalidomide was a drug that was introduced in the late 1950s. It was a drug for pregnant women. It was said that it was for anti-nausea and sickness during the pregnancy, but it had very crucial side effects. It was very popular, like Tylenol or other medicine would be right now. So many babies died and they had missing limbs or organ failures. So why did it happen? So the drug wasn't properly tested and people were unknowingly exposed to severe side effects like the organs and stuff. So what was the response? So the FDA created much stricter rules which required extensive clinical trials and testing for side effects. So now no medicine or any drug can't go into the market unless it's tested on.
So the next experiment is MK-Ultra, which was a secret and illegal CIA program that tried to control other people's minds with drugs and other methods of psychological torture. So this lasted for around 2 decades, from 1953 to 1973, and a lot of innocent citizens were used as test subjects. And this whole experiment was run by a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb, where his plan was to blast away the existing mind and replace a new mind after. And this happened because during the Cold War, the CIA had thought that communists already found a way to control other people's minds with drugs. And during the MK-Ultra experiments, they used a lot of LSD, which is also commonly known as acid. And Sidney Gottlieb had arranged for the CIA to buy the whole world's supply of LSD. And one victim from these experiments was Whitey Bulger, who was a prisoner in his late 20s to mid-30s. And he was told that these experiments were used to cure schizophrenia, and he was given LSD daily for over a year, until he finally realized that it wasn't about schizophrenia at all. And after this whole thing, he decided to write about his experiences, about how he was going insane, and told his friends that he would later find the scientist who was the head of this experiment and kill him. And also, if you guys know the show Stranger Things, it is inspired by MK-Ultra and the Montauk Project.
Now let's talk about the Elephant Man trial. In this trial, phase 1 clinical trial, it was conducted in March 2006 in London. 8 participants that were voluntary were in this experiment, and 6 of the 8 died or got terribly ill. There was an experimental drug that was designed to stimulate the immune system, yet it went haywire.
So there were many side effects to this, some like organ failure and visible swelling. So the name Elephant Man actually came because of the swelling that happened to all these participants. One common side effect would be the fingertips turning black. So it was like an infection that happened in their fingertips that would later go onto their hand and then their arm. So a lot of these participants had their fingers amputated.
And the picture shown here is real footage of the experiment from a documentary based on the Elephant Man trial. Results. As we see, most of these experiments are about humans and how the human body reacts to certain diseases, pathogens, and viruses. We also see in common that all these experiments were conducted by trusted people, such as hospitals and even the government. And that makes you think, could we be part of an experiment? So at the end, can you really believe it? Thank you.